So therefore, consciously or unconsciously, we neglect the man, buddhi, ahankar. In the modern medicine, we focus on the physical problem. If you have broken your limbs, fix it by surgery. If you have broken your tooth, go to the dental doctor, fix it. You have a loose motion, fix it by taking medicine. Now, consciously or unconsciously, the modern medical doctor will not get into your man, buddhi, ahankar. It is an exclusive, isolated science dealing with the physical self. As simple as that. But on the hint side, this system itself, the modern medicine system, we are not talking about the practitioners. The practitioners' belief is different from the process of the modern medicine. The modern medicines inherently does not accept the concept of constitutional problem of adhyatmika klesha. Right? It doesn't accept the concept of adi daivika klesha, the miseries caused by the higher beings. They do not accept that. They focus on the physical. As simple as that. Therefore, the modern medicine will have, by the very system, the conflict with such systems of Manasa Shastra and Adhyatma Shastra. Of course, there will be many doctors who believe. That is a different thing. We are talking about the system. Then the second, the modern psychology, unfortunately, many times does not accept the concept of Atma. They get into the emotional side. They try to understand what must have caused your problem, and they counsel without going deeper into this. Right? And the faith traditions, the Abrahamic faith traditions, they have a inherent problem with astrology, Jyotish Shastra, whether it is Western Jyotish Shastra or Vedic Jyotish Shastra. Taking shelter of Jyotish Shastra, consulting Jyotish Shastra means you are not having full faith in the words of their Abrahamic scriptures. So if you see, unfortunately, the Western system, however efficiently presented, rightly presented, but not necessarily right system in regards to integration. On their own, yes, they do help a lot, like the modern medicine, right, on a superficial problem, has done great advancement, appreciated. But the problem is, life is not defined in isolation. Life is defined in integration. But now let us back to the Vedic Sanatan Dharma. We are only for the sake of analyzing, separating man, buddhi, ahankar, atma and sharira. In this world, they operate in integration. There is atma, there is man, buddhi, ahankar, and there is the stula sharira, the physical body. The simple formula given by our Vedic rishis, the physical self requires medicine. What was the system? The traditional medicine called as Ayurveda or Siddha. Now, whether you are practitioners of Ayurveda medicine, practitioners of Siddha medicine, or a practitioner of local medicine, you would always believe, always accept naturally the concept of Daiva, the concept of higher power causing problem to us also. Jyotish Shastra is not against the Ayurveda, which is a physical medicine, and the Ayurveda is not against the Jyotish Shastra, and both Shastras are not against the Adhyatma Shastra. The very first verse, now you open up any modern medical textbook. Does it begin by offering glorification to the greatest physician called as Lord Narayan or Lord Shiva or whichever Devata they believe in? No. The first verse of Ashtanga Hridaya begins by offering prayers to that Vaidya, the supreme Vaidya. Like recently Radhanath Swami named the Gaur-Nitai deities in Bhaktivedanta Hospital as Chaitanya Vaidya. Right? So the first verse, Vaghavata says that I offer my obeisances to that Vaidya who removes the disease of the disease. What is that? The Ichha, the limitless desires. Very profound. Right? And the astrologer, uh, a, a Vedic astrologer cannot say, I believe in the planets, I believe in the energy, but I don't believe in God. Then he cannot be an Vedic astrologer. It is not possible. It is an isolation. And similarly, those who are practicing Shraddha, a devotional life, or through Jnana Marga or through Karma Marga, they want to achieve God, the Supreme Brahman, they do not deny the need for Jyotish Shastra, the need for Ayurveda Shastra. They are able to integrate, appropriately use them at the right place, at the right reason, for the right cause. Therefore, you will find in the Bhagavatam certain elements of Aushadhi, medicine. In the Bhagavatam, you will find many places the description of Jyotish Shastra by very Shukadev Goswami in the 5th canto to Parikshit Maharaj. Right? In the Bhagavatam, you will find the concept of counseling also. Therefore, in essence, when we see from the pure Vedic perspective, the Vedas perspective, the Dharmic perspective, this is a simple philosophy. For your physical problem, go to a Vaidya who will not conflict with your Shraddha. If there is a health issue, you take a medicine. If there is an issue in regards to bondage to this world, take to the holy name. Take to Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. Take to meditation so that you can overcome forever the bondage of material life. No confusion about this. But if somebody, after practicing spirituality, after taking medicine, still suffering from perpetual problem which is resistance in regards to something beyond the physical and something which is obstructing your spiritual journey, then the Shastras do recommend us that you go and consult to understand what is your Daiva, what that is causing. So specifically, what does astrology do? Astrology does everything. But here what it does specifically, it is specifically focusing on your mana, buddhi and ahankar. What could be your sanchita karma? What could be your prarabdha karma? What could be your kutastha? Right? It may not clearly tell you, but it will give a great indication. And what is the harm in taking those medicine? Somebody is an addict, is a drug addict, or somebody is drinking for so long that all solutions to help him or help her have been completely failure. And therefore, Shaunak Rishi in Mahabharat, Chanakya Pandit in Arthashastra, Ayurved Vagbhatta explains one should use the metal, one should use the mantras, one should use the devatas. Means one should approach them to help us to heal so that our journey becomes progressive seamlessly with great confidence. Therefore, Adi Bhautika Klesha means you take medicine for your throat problem rather than simply chanting a mantra. If you have a head problem, you have migraine, you have headache, what you do? Take a medicine. That is Adi Bhautika Klesha. And Adi Daivika Klesha, Adi Adhyatmika Klesha, as we discussed, very clear that never get distracted from doing your personal spiritual sadhana for your personal spiritual perfection. Do not use the spiritual perfection for the mental problem. If somebody is suffering psychologically, you cannot use the spiritual substance and tell this will solve your problem. This will certainly solve the ultimate problem so that all problems cease to exist. But today, now, right? Very important to understand today, if somebody, has a severe depression problem and it is perpetually existing, then what you are supposed to do? You are supposed to tell them, forget, don't worry about this. Anyway, we are not this body. Anyway, we are not this mind. Anyway, we are not this, ego. Anyway, we are not this intelligence. Yes, that is the philosophy for the ultimate. But here somebody is suffering. They need a solution which will help them to overcome this problem and become stabilized. And therefore, imagine the Vedas, imagine the Vedas, somebody, we should have to throw him out of the, some crazy guys come, take him out. Priya Chaitanya proof? Yeah. So therefore, the principle is here that when we integrate our shastras, have integrated these three things: the man, buddhi, ahankar, the sharira, and the atma. So there is no confusion in this regard, and therefore the counseling in the Vedic system inherently connected to your astrology, and your astrology is inherently connected to what? Inherently connected to the principle of psychology. So therefore, it is important for us to understand and apply this principle very carefully. I did 7-day seminar on this issue of astrology, psychology, Bhagavad Gita, and this three principle. So therefore, let us go back and see certain simple principle of astrology. We are about to declare our 7-day seminar on the principle of the sanskaras. What does the Jyotish Shastra do? Jyotish Shastra helps us to refine our character in the form of sanskara. There is Sanskriti and there is Sanskar. Now, Sanskriti is connected to the society and Sanskar is connected to an individual. Right? यू कैन नॉट हैव अ संस्कार ऑफ द सोसाइटी. आप पूरे एक समाज को लेकर उनका संस्कार नहीं करते हो. संस्कार हमेशा, every time sanskar happens of a person, right? It does not happen of a group, right? When a child is born, it is not that namakarana samskara is done to everybody. Namakarana samskara is done to that specific child. So unless a person is refined, a cultural society is not established. It is not by sermons. It is not by simply physical discipline. It is not by, buying them out, by tempting them, oh, you have to join my group. It is not possible. Every individual is basically, when he goes through the principle of refinement, and that refined individual create a संस्कृति, समाज. ये भाषण से नहीं होता, ये भावनाओं से नहीं होता, ये पैम्पलेट से नहीं होता, right? They don't happen like that. Just therefore our sages have defined, given this so beautifully. Therefore, whether it is astrology, whether it is Ayurveda, whether it is Adhyatma, the focus is on the individual. व्यक्ति से ही समाज बनती है. समाज से व्यक्ति प्रभावित हो सकता है, लेकिन बनना संस्कार के कारण ही होता है. And therefore the astrology, what do they do? Psychology, what do? They focus on your ego. There are two things. There are many things in astrology, but the basic two things is your ego, which is called as your lagna. आपने सुना होगा people saying, I belong to Kumbha Lagna and I belong to Dhanu Rashi. Right? Now Rashi is connected to the mind. What is Sadesati? You must have heard of Sadesati. People just, one of the unfortunate reality amongst our people is that whatever I don't know, I ridicule it. Or whatever I don't know, I blindly follow it. The simple concept of Sadesati means it is an impact of the Shani, the Saturn planet, on the mind purely, because the moon is connected to our mind. Mind defines our psychology. It is very important. The Rashi defines our psychology. And what is our psychology? Our psychology is connected to our past impressions, bringing for so many lifetimes. Right? Our nakshatra is connected to our mind only. Right? And our lagna is connected to our identity. If our identity and our mind are integrated, they make sense, then your life becomes more easy to practice. But if there is a conflict in regards to your ego and your mind, imagine you're a very powerful personality. Externally, you're very powerful. But your Chandra, your mind is very disturbed. So either you become depressed or you become narcissist. Right? Can they simply listen to some good advice? It is not possible. They need something deeper than simply giving them advice. And therefore, what do the Jyotish Shastragya do? They make us satisfy certain energies which are controlled by the Devatas. Krishna, being so deep in his presentation of Bhagavad Gita, in the very third chapter. Now, what is the need of the third chapter? Third chapter basically talks about our life in this world, karma yoga. In Karma Yoga, it is but you need great cooperation. आपको एक घर बनाना है, you want to make a house. Can you say that I have too much of money, I can make my own house? Even if you say, no, I want to buy the house, for that you need an agent, you need a builder, you need a clarification from the municipal corporation, you need a bank to transfer your money. Just simply, even a ready-made house, if you have to buy, you need so much of cooperation from many people. Please understand. Go beyond that. What it takes to build a house, a carpenter, a mason, right? A steel manufacturer, a cement manufacturer, the trucker, the petrol, the diesel, the gas, the electricity. Just simply imagine how much cooperation you need to just to get into a rented house or your own house. Yahan swatantrata, you cannot say I am independent, I don't believe in all these people, I focus directly on the Supreme Lord. Doesn't work like that. If you want to grow, rise. We have discussed this many times. How many parameters are involved to grow, rise? So therefore, the third chapter talks about universal cooperation with universal adhikaris, the powerful entities. You want water, you want rain, you want air, you want sunlight, you want moonlight. Right? When you need all these things, can you challenge their existence saying that I don't believe any one of you? I'll directly approach the creator of yours. For your spiritual journey, for your adhyatmic journey, you may respect the devatas, but you may not need them for your adhyatmic journey. You will directly approach. Right? Forget that. If you choose, right, you are practicing your spirituality very nicely, you are also doing your cooperation with the higher power, and suddenly you develop your dental trouble. Who becomes more, more manifesting in your brain now? The doctor. Right? Dental problem is not your eternal problem. It's an emergency. Right? It is not an important issue, but it is an emergency issue. Once you fix your dental problem, you do not remember about that problem. That is how much it requires attention. The adhyatmic problem, we may not remember all the time because it is not hurting me immediately. I'm not suffering, I'm not suffocated. Oh, I'm in this body, I'm feeling suffocated, I want to get out of this body. No, we are not suffocated. After the class is over, you will eat, I will drink some water, you will drink some water, life goes on. Right? So therefore, it is not emergency like a dental problem. It's an ongoing sadhana to overcome the eternal problem. So what do? I go to a dental doctor to fix my dental problem. I go to a spiritual teacher to understand the philosophy and apply to experience our constitutional nature of going back to the spiritual realm. Right? So therefore, when we understand this very clearly, and therefore the Vedas, they have given us the Upavedas called as Ayurveda. They have given us the Upaveda called Jyotish Shastra. And they have given us the foundation of Vedas in the form of Adhyatma Shastra also. So is there any confusion? There is no confusion at all. While living in this world, we have to integrate as much as possible to grow in life. And therefore, the great Parashar Maharshi, the father of Vyasadeva, he is the one who compiled the Jyotish Shastra. Dhanvantari and the Ashwina Kumaras, they were responsible for the Ayurveda Shastra. And Vyasadev, the son of Parashar Muni, he compiled all kinds of scriptures, all kinds of Shastras, and he put forward in front of the living entities, making it very clear this is meant for your Anandamaya Kosha, your Adhyatmik Ananda, the pure philosophical treatise, and the pure Purana called as Bhagavatam. And Vyasadev gave the best of the counseling book. In Bhagavad Gita, there is no description of astrology. Krishna is not talking to Arjuna about astrology because there is no need for him. The Arjuna's problem in the Bhagavad Gita is not caused by the Devatas. Arjuna's problem in Bhagavad Gita is not caused by him missing his identity. Oh, I think I don't want to practice devotional service. He never said about that. Arjuna's problem in Bhagavad Gita was he needed counseling. Simple counseling was required. So Bhagavad Gita is such a counseling book, right? It gives rise to attitude. Like the topic of the subject today is attitude, action and destiny. एक्शन के लिए आपको मेडिसिन की आवश्यकता है, वस्तुओं की आवश्यकता है. एटीट्यूड के लिए आपको काउंसलिंग की आवश्यकता है. And dealing deeply the wounds of your past life, the wounds of this life's trauma, what do you need? You need deeper therapy, psychotherapy. So the astrology falls into the category of healing your psychotherapical situations. Agar if you understand this principle very clearly, then what will happen? We can grow nicely without any trouble in life. Our Adi Bhautika Klesha will be taken care, our Adi Daivika Klesha will be taken care, and our Adhyatmika Klesha will be taken care. So I'll stop here, and if those who want to go deeper into this, our Radha Gopinath temple has the 7-day topic which we have elaborately discussed. I don't want to repeat that. So we can take few questions. If you have any questions or comment, you can ask.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. As you have been reiterating.
I think you have to take out some, some people are there they should be removed from the.
So Prabhuji, we have disabled the chat. Only people who raise their hand and we recognize them, we will ask them to ask questions, Prabhuji. Yeah.
But you can take them out also, those who are making this.
Yeah. Please, Prabhu, can you help us with that, please?
Yeah, you can ask.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji. So, yes, integrating our body, mind, and soul is very essential, which you have been, reiterating so many times. Yes, Prabhuji, we have removed, the spammers from the group now.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, you spoke about samskaras, when we are born, when we get married. And you said samskaras are required for us to become more refined. So what is the scientific basis or understanding of this? Can you elaborate a little bit more on this, Prabhuji?
Which kind of science are you talking about? The modern science, or again, as I said in the beginning of the lecture, if you are speaking from the scientific perspective from the modern medicine, the concept of samskara doesn't exist. They only talk about disease, not samskaras. Right? So the Vedic Shastras, which talk about 16 primary samskaras and many more secondary samskaras, right? And there are, legacy of thousands of years. When people do not get the samskaras, what kind of consequences they experience in their personal life, what happens to them and what happens to their interaction with the world. They become burdensome to themselves and they become burden to the society. So therefore, when we talk about, what is the scientific, what kind of scientific definition are we looking for? That is most important. Here for us, science means the Shastra and the Pratyaksha Praman. It is visible reality and it is a Shabda reality also. It's a Pratyaksha Pramana also, and it is also Shabda Pramana also. And you see that, how much it creates difference in the life of people, those who are basically gone through the principle of sanskara. Even Lord Krishna and Lord Ramachandra had to go through the Namakarana Samskara. And
Thank
for
you.
that further discussion, when we have next time, we'll do work on it. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
In fact, I remember you had told me once to, you offer water to Surya Dev every day. So I started practicing that, and I think it is helping me be more stable and improves my well-being. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. So that's the evidence which I can see. Kuldeep Prabhuji, can you please ask your question?
Yes. Thank you. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Kulashekar Das from Kolhapur.
Hare Krishna. Yes.
Hare Krishna. So we are speaking that psychology and physical medicine science and spiritual science, they are interrelated and they are consistent in Vedic system. But in the present age, we have good Ayurvedic doctors, and as for spirituality, we have devotees. But there are no psychologists, Vedic psychologists. So, and many devotees have the psychological issues. So at present, we are referring them to the modern psychologists, and some of them, their philosophy, their methodologies, they at least adjust to Vedic system, but most of them, they do not. So in this situation, how it can be handled?
So therefore, again, the modern psychology, for practicing psychology, you have to have a degree, unfortunately. Right? So along with that, studying what the Western psychology says, but if you deeply practice the astrological science or understand the astrological science, then the integration becomes much easier to implement. There are, even in the Western world, there are new schools of thoughts are coming called as psychological astrology, where their focus is not predictable science, but their focus is using the astrology to understand people's personality and accordingly giving them good advice, good counseling. They don't get into parihara, they don't get into solution. But here, the Vedic astrology doesn't stop only giving advice. They need counseling and they also need certain solutions. When the solution and counseling is integrated, using the whatever method which is not contradicting to the Vedic philosophy, and therefore there is a need. People did not see that need. Now they are seeing the need. So there is a need to integrate that. And there are people who are integrating like that.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I believe you are also working along with some devotees to offer some kind of counseling which integrates psychology, Ayurveda, astrology. Can you share some details about that?
Yeah, we are working on it. We just recently conducted some seminar for the young children from the age group of 16 to 18 with the help of some psychologists, Ayurvedic doctors and astrologers. And it was an 8-session talk. Maybe when we do more research on this, then we'll work on this and explain the greater details on this.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Murari Radhapati Prabhuji, can you please ask your question?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranams. First, extremely thankful for the clarity you have given against the three kleshas, Prabhuji. There was something going on in my mind. Now, my question is specifically, you have also given the clarity in the previous question, like approaching for the solution and the parihar. So, should we have any conflict in our mind, which I am not clear, when we approach for parihar, the demigod concept, so I'm not clear. This is one aspect, Prabhuji. And second thing is, the personalities whom we approach may not be from Krishna conscious. In that case, how do we balance it? These are the two things, Prabhuji.
The person whom you approach, they may not be Krishna conscious. You approach a medical doctor, one who has nothing to do with Krishna conscious. They may be in a cow's flesh eater, or you may be anti your spirituality, but you have the facility to differentiate between them. So, but as I said, the Vedic astrologer would never speak anything against the Vedic foundational principle. If there is some immature astrologer may respond to you wrongly because of some spiritualist being exclusivist, right? Otherwise, by the foundation, you please understand, by the foundation, if he is practicing Vedic astrology, he or she cannot speak only from isolation. They cannot say, oh, astrology is everything and you don't need to believe in anybody. Then you realize, okay, if he's very good, take the solution and don't accept what he's saying. Just accept what is good for your man, buddhi, ahankar. As simple
So
as
that, in that case, Prabhuji, what are the parigara being recommended? We can do it following.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Shyam Madhav Prabhuji, can you please unmute yourself and ask a question?
Hare Krishna, Govinda, ma'am.
Yes.
I differ the thoughts with what Kuldeep Prabhu was saying, that we have the good Ayurvedic doctors and astrologers, but I differ in that what in society I see in general and devote in the spiritual society or maybe outside also. I feel that people who are modern. I'm a modern medicine practitioner, so who is a modern medicine practitioner, they are more competent than what I see the Ayurvedic. Whatever I come across with some Ayurvedic doctors, they are just kind of BMS and all those things. What I understand that mainly Ayurvedic doctors are who learned traditionally from the Ayurveda Charya. So that kind of Ayurvedic doctors we don't see in society. Similarly, I heard from you on like in astrology also, who learned from traditionally from Ayurvedic astrology, not just from the computer science. So I see lots of differences that we don't have the genuine Ayurvedic doctors and genuine astrologers in the society. But I see that modern medicine, whatever they do, the physical, they don't work on the maybe on the adhyatmic and adi level. What I understand from you that adi bhautik, this done by the physically by the doctors who are Ayurvedic or modern medicines, and adhyatmic by the spiritual counselors, and adi devik are the astrologers. But I don't find even the genuine counselors, the spiritual counselors, the genuine astrologers, and the genuine doctors also, and that create lots of confusion in the society. That is my experiences. And you are doing the integrations, Prabhuji was saying. But what is your say on all those things?
So therefore, again, it is not that they are not there. They are very, very rare. You can find, because the system of modern medicine is well established, whether it is in Europe or America or in India. So therefore, there is a large number of doctors are being, coming from the physical perspective, how they're taught, what is their background, what is their psychology. I talked to a lot of medical students also, especially last 3-4 years, kind of, their education. Again, I'm not connecting it to seeing it from the Ayurvedic perspective or astrological perspective. Simply from the modern medicine perspective, the systems are more like the Pratyaksha Pramana centric. They're doing good, but the students themselves who are practicing medicine are far away from having the psychology of doctors. Many of them, it's a very scary to understand. Right, that compassion and kindness. So therefore, even the modern medicine is suffering. They have the technology, right, but the people, are they? Their number is also very less. The kind of doctor what we used to hear 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 25 years ago, the number of such doctors is decreasing. So therefore, there should be worry not only for Ayurveda Acharya, astrologer, even for the medicine also. Because the technology doesn't heal you, the doctor heals you. And whether he's a modern medical doctor or Ayurvedic doctor, the foundation sanskara, the refined psychology is not there, even that will not work. Right. So therefore, we have to, focus on helping those kind, compassionate, intelligent people to become these kind of things. Otherwise you can produce India is bringing more medical college. I was talking to one modern medical doctor. He said, Prabhuji, this year or last 4 years, 6 medical college have been started by the government, but there are hardly any professor to teach. Imagine. Those who went to Ukraine, many of them, it has been shown, it has been seen also, so many of them came, the government brought them with their government's money. And this, many of them, I'm not saying everybody, large number of people had a entitlement feeling, right? When you have this entitlement ideology, then how can you contribute anything from any perspective, whether it is modern medicine, whether it is Ayurveda, whether it is astrology? So therefore, it is an important principle. Along with the quantity, we should be rooted in the psychology of refinement. That is what the modern medical doctor also requires, sanskara. The Ayurvedic doctor also requires sanskara, and the Jyotish Shastragya also requires samskara. So there are people, it is not that they are not there. You have to basically look for them. You have to work hard, because if you want to invest energy in refining yourself and your children, the investment is very much required. No, that is very important to understand.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, just a question. Sometimes when you go to a medical doctor, he doesn't have too much appreciation for other sciences like Ayurveda, astrology. When you go to an Ayurveda doctor, he might not have too much respect for modern science. So how important it is for people who practice a particular science to really understand other sciences and integrate that in their work also.
That is again, the modern world is working in isolation. Yesterday we are having a discussion, like nowadays the mothers who are becoming mothers, the millenniums who are becoming mother, they don't feel their mothers have any value to add in regards to raising their children. Right? There is a conflict that traditionally all the kids were given good massage with oil. The modern medicine may say, hey, no massage, or the Google may say not this, not this. So you can imagine there is a conflict in regards to a new mother raising her children without the contribution of her own mother. What to speak of mother-in-law? So you can see that isolation and false confidence. So that we see in the modern medical field also, we see that in the Ayurveda also, we see that in the in the faith tradition also, in spiritual circle also. You'll find somebody, so many will say, what is this nonsense? We don't need any astrology, we don't need any psychology, just focus on your spiritual practicing. Right? So that does not work like that. No, it is not feasible. So therefore, integration is the most important principle. Respect. I may not know Ayurveda. I am a big medical doctor. Right? So it is better to say my field is modern medicine. I have no clue of what happens with the Ayurveda. Yes, it is an Indian tradition. I'm ignorant about it. I cannot say yes to it. I cannot no to say it. If they say this much, that is sufficient. But if they're giving ridiculous commentary, arrogantly criticizing it, that means what? That shows the sheer arrogance caused by learning one thing and thinking that through this I can judge everything else. That is absolutely not correct for any part of the education system. So therefore, integration becomes very, very much required in this age, because we are becoming more and more conflicting society.
Thank you. Well clarified. Can I request Ram Prabhuji to please ask a question?
Yes, thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna Prabhu, this is Ram Tirtha Das from Columbus. Thank you so much for your association, Prabhuji. Happy to see you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, Prabhu, I can understand that Ayurveda principle, meaning, approaching Ayurveda when we have health issues and things like that. But I'm having hard time understanding about astrology. How much role astrology plays in a life of a devotee as a practicing Krishna conscious person. How much emphasis needs to be given to Jyotisha? Because sometimes I see some people looking at their weekly, what is that called, rashis and rashi falas and things like that. What is going to happen in that week or in that month, like that? So, how much emphasis needs to be given to Jyotisha as practicing devotees? Number one, and the second question is worshipping demigods. It's like some people when devotees are going through some health issues, sometimes people say go to worship so and so demigod to mitigate that issue, right? And sometimes we hear from the devotees, even Narsinga Kavacha should not be even recited. Why are you even reciting Narsinga Kavacha? That is for your personal, health and wealth and things like that. We should be aspiring for pure devotional service. That should be our mood. So how do we balance these kinds of things?
No, yeah, I understand. Therefore, I said those who have not attended those 7 days seminar on astrology, Jyotish Shastra, psychology, and Bhagavad Gita, I recommend them to hear that. We have discussed in great details about all the science. Now, in the Bhagavatam, Shukadeva Goswami is speaking about the influence of the planetary position in the 5th canto. In Varnashram Dharma, Prabhupada writes in many places about including the Varnashram principle. Right? So, unless you are like Shukadeva Goswami or Raghunath Das Goswami living in the forest without anybody involved in your life, then you do not need astrology. You do not need any cooperation with anybody. So when we are not cooperating as prescribed by Krishna himself in the Bhagavad Gita, as I explained in the beginning, then there is something wrong in our understanding of what we are reading from Krishna's teaching. For your adhyatmic, your loyalty to your devotional service, to your supreme worship of whichever Ishtadeva you worship, that is uncompromising. But here we are again talking on mana buddhi ahankar. People go, even those who proclaim, they go to psychologists, pay thousands of rupees and dollars to heal themselves.
Right.
So therefore, and it is not that something new, it is there in the scripture. So do not judge astrology based upon people who are obsessed with it. Judge astrology based upon astrology itself, because it's the Vedic science. What people do does not minimize the science. The people should be judged by the science rather than science should be judged by the people. Just because some people, spiritualists, become radical, crazy, that does not define the spirituality. Rather, that spirituality, science should be used to judge their spirituality. See the logic and nyaya. You don't tell, oh, these people are doing like this, therefore astrological science. Oh, one astrologer did like that, and therefore. How stupid that logic is. You go back to the science. The science is given by Parashar Maharshi. The science is given by Shukadeva Goswami. The science is given by Vyasadeva. The science is given by the rishis for our Jata karma and other karmas. So therefore, here we are discussing the root science, and we are judging the people's practice based upon the root science rather than judging the science based upon people.
Yeah. There is no question about the astrology, Prabhuji. Astrology is definitely authentic and all that. But when it comes to knowing our future, what is going to happen to me after 10 years, after 1 year, how does that help in devotee's life? That's what I was wondering.
And that's what I'm saying. Therefore, you have to study astrology deeply to understand this. Just because you hear from here and there and you see people are doing, again, the same principle only. What astrology means, I said it's an indicative science. It gives you certain indication in regards to what is your psychological reality. Even the best of the deep astrologer will never say it's a predictable science, it's an indicative science. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's an indicative science. Yeah. So therefore, if somebody is telling you, we will predict what's going to happen to you after 10 years, and even if they predict, there is a most important principle of Purushartha. A Purushartha, you know what is going to happen to you, that is okay. You're going to be a rich man making $10 million. But where is the process of action? Where is the Purushartha? Huh? The weather forecast department will predict what's going to happen next 3 months, what kind of rains are going to come, and you'll realize, wow, this is very good for my farm. But you have to work hard to make it happen. Therefore, the Purushartha is not cancelled in our Vedic astrological science. Therefore, again, I said this is an integrated science. If you see practitioners are doing wrongly, don't see them, see the Shastra itself. Just because 50 people are not practicing, that does not cancel the science itself. The science requires more refined people to understand and practice. So whether people are seeing every weekly or 10 days, 15 days, that is not the discussion I'm having here. I'm discussing the science itself.
Okay, Prabhu. So,
Yeah.
but what about
Can I, others will ask because,
Yeah. Sorry, Prabhuji, we have many people in the queue to ask questions. Prabhuji, can we take some more questions?
Yeah.
So, Prabhu, one question. I'm not asking a question, but is this going to be available on YouTube by any chance after this session?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Media, you could access RG Media. You'll be able to access the lecture. Yeah.
Got it, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Prabhuji, can you please ask your question?
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. My question is basically in astrology, from our perspective, we make charts by, on the birth of any person. And when we are, I believe in astrology. So there are every few times the transitions are there. So every time we visit or take advice from an astrologer, there are changes most of the time. So what is the frequency where we should visit an astrologer for these things? And do we go with the upay they give, like the remedies which they give? Because as a devotee, I believe in that. But mostly what happens, like an example I'm giving, we are family of 4 people. So I'm in Meen Rashi, Mesh Rashi, Vrishab, 3 of them. So we know about that one gets a Sade Sati, the next will get and all. So we are so many people. So should we what is the frequency with which we should take advice so that we don't get into it and like the faith in the Lord reduces because of getting in too much into that. So I just want to know the frequency.
Again, I said, it's a common sense. It is a common sense. Astrological science is like your calendar. If you learn the art of seeing the calendar, you don't need, like a small baby does not know how to see the time. So repeatedly she is asking mother or father. But if the parents teach the child how to see the clock, then the child is not going, realizes, okay, now 10 o'clock I have to go to school, 11 o'clock I have mathematics class, I have 12 o'clock, right? That becomes common. So therefore, astrology is not something where the astrologers themselves, they will not be able to give time for every small thing for you. Once you understand the foundational principle, therefore, in Indian tradition, every year when the new year would come, now because we celebrate a different kind of new year, 31st December, which has nothing to do with planetary position, with the seasons. So in every tradition within India, when the new year would come, so they would celebrate. And part of the celebration is to meet a Purohit. Right? What is Purohit means? Purohit means one is Hita, or Pura means the Purusha also, and that village also, that family also.
Yeah.
Right? So So this is how, rather than going for emergency, you go for maintenance. So maintenance requires less time, and the reactive uh, taking advice takes longer time. As simple as that. Therefore, there is no question. As I said again, if Jyotish Shastra is making you lose your faith in your spiritual practices, that means there is something wrong in your understanding, or there is something wrong in the communication of the Jyotish Shastragya. As simple as that.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. And about remedies, do we go through the remedies? We accept the remedies of like some they say Rahu Shanti or Sade Sati, they give some remedy. Should we go ahead with it?
It all depends upon the Jyotish Shastragya. He understands and sees the utility of it, and therefore then certainly whatever solution, take them as a medicine.
Okay.
They are not substitute for your spiritual practices. You do not take medicine for life.
Right.
If you're taking medicine, oh my God, I'm taking medicine, I'm having less faith in Krishna. No, take the medicine. Doesn't bother about discussing medicine and faith. Take and move on with your life. It's
Thank
a
you.
mantra meditate. It's a daiva medicine. On the subtle platform, if that medicine is required to deal with your man, buddhi, ahankar, take it and move on. Where it is saying that you stop your spiritual practices. As simple as that.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
And
Sunandaji,
Prabhu, I wanted to know about the 7 days seminar. Will it be available somewhere?
Yeah, it is there. It is there, available on the Radha Gopinath media.
Okay. Thank you very much, Prabhu. Thank you.
Priya Chaitanya, can you post that link? Yeah.
yes, Prabhuji, we'll do that. Sunandaji, can you please unmute yourself and ask your question? Viniji, can you please ask your question? Unmute yourself and ask your question.
Yes. Thank you, Prabhuji, for your wonderful class. I had a question on committing suicide. So, the reason we shouldn't commit suicide, there are several reasons given. One of that is this body doesn't belong to us; it is given to us, so we are not the authority to end it before the stipulated time. And also, other reason is given is that suppose if a person is destined to live till 60 years and he commits suicide at the age of 40, so that 20 years balance for that, like he has destroyed his gross body, so he has to be in his subtle body in a ghost form. Now, Prabhuji, the question which I have is that suppose a person commits suicide, so the person, like his relatives and all, they are taken by shock because they didn't know his mentality or that shock. But is this surprise element also there with Yamraj? Because as the analogy is given, like astrology is like it's a flight, so the arrival time, departure time, who is going to sit next to you, so many things are fixed. And so astrology, like of a person's life, his birth, death, and everything is fixed. So the person, he is going to commit suicide at the age of 40. Is this thing known by Chitragupt and Yamraj? Naturally, the question is yes, I think so, because it's a big thing. So if he knows that, of course, I'm not saying that then there is no problem with committing suicide, but then the point that because you end your life before your stipulated period, that becomes kind of irrelevant, because like he was going to live till 40, that was known. So is this correct, Prabhuji?
No, it is, again, you have to understand that what they know, what they don't know does not matter to your, taking decisions in your life. We have seen certain people's, our teacher was showing certain charts where people committed suicide. They can show the tendency of winding up their life, but if their family, friends, and relatives again had consulted right advice, right, we are not blaming them. Whatever has happened now. Nobody to blame. But we are talking about whenever those red flags are seen, if they are going through sentimental depression, that means if they are given those kind of facility, then they can overcome overcome the tendency and also decision to commit suicide. Okay, so that's important to understand. So Purushartha, again, Akala Mrityu is Akala Mrityu. You cannot call Akala Mrityu as a destined Mrityu. Do you understand? Simple Sanskrit terminology. That means it's a Akala Mrityu. Akala Mrityu happened because the right facility was not provided to the person who committed suicide, or the person himself did not take that facility. So therefore it falls into the category of Akala Mrityu only. So whether what Mrityu, see again the technicalities here is, the technicality is simple. The technicalities, the Shastragyas, the Rishis and the Lord himself has provided these facilities for you to live a stable life here as long as possible, so that you can experience much more natural living, natural birth, natural growth and natural death. The purpose of the Lord is not to create shocks. It is human error and human ignorance. And because it's a human error and human ignorance, therefore it is called as untimely only. That is not called as timely. Don't try to make that untimely death into predestined.
So Prabhuji, is that surprise element there with the Yam 2000? Like with
That doesn't matter what they go. I don't know what they feel.
Okay, so
That,
like
yeah.
the thing is, there's no reference, like is no
Yeah,
mentioning of
I have
this.
not read the reference specifically.
That is what was my question. Like,
No,
is there something?
There is no such a reference.
Okay, and Prabhuji, secondly, like that thing, the argument from the free will. That thing is that argument is there. That the thing is, if destiny and the free will, that if there are two options, option A and option B, and we have to select one. So is Krishna aware of that thing? If it's yes, the question is if yes, then how can we have the free will?
Read 18th chapter Bhagavad Gita, 14, 15, 16 shlokas. Bhagavad Gita is a harmony between Daiva and Purushartha. Purushartha is a endeavor and Daiva is your impression. So they're not against each other. Again, this is a modern methodology where they try to separate the two. Free will.
Yeah. Yes, that's what I was.
But in the Gita, it is not like that. In Gita, it's a harmony between the past and the present action. Therefore, the word karma also means the impression of the past, and karma also means action for the future. So read 18.14. Very clearly, Krishna mentioned that.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That the thing is that although he knows that thing, but that doesn't hinder us with our independence. The example is given, although the mother knows what the child is going to select, but this fact is true. That doesn't mean that that child's independence is stolen. Krishna knows everything.
Therefore, please understand, it doesn't matter what Krishna knows or not. He has given you facility to be knowledgeable and take action based upon that. This is a curiosity question. It is not a question which is meant for self-development.
Yeah, yes, like exactly. Like it's a theoretical.
It is not. It is not helping you into your self-development. Self-development. Krishna has given the 5 principles. There is upakarana. There is place of action. There is endeavor itself, and there is involvement. These are the 4 responsibility of the living entity. 5th is Daiva. These are the 5 factors make every work successful or failure.
But Pruji, like, is it so that such questions are irrelevant? Like, it is just for theory, like, so as to understand.
But that's what the whole Sanatan Dharma, the philosophy, the life is not meant for philosophy. Philosophy is meant for life. You can discuss. It's a good discussion, but you'll not get anywhere. Because what Krishna knows, what he does not know, does not change your life. So therefore he's saying, I'm giving you something used for changing your life. So that you can progress. ये ठीक है, प्रश्न कर सकते हैं, लेकिन उसका उत्तर नहीं मिलेगा आपको. You have no access to that answer. And why would Krishna bother to know? He's in the Bhagavatam, Shukadeva Goswami explains, the Lord is not directly involved in the happenings of the material world unless he chooses. But by law, he doesn't. Hello?
Thank you. I think we need to take responsibility of our own lives. Thank you. Projit, can we take some more questions?
Yes.
Okay, Dharma Chakra Prabhuji, can you please ask your question?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Hare Krishna Prabhu, are you here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Prabhuji, you mentioned, my question is, I am a practicing devotee. The planets are affect my mind because I am trying to improve my spiritual life. But somehow my mind goes something like that. So it's planets also affect our mind.
Read the 5th canto Bhagavatam. Shukdev Goswami is talking about planet affecting other planets. What to speak of our mind. We are practicing devotee, but we are not full-fledged devotee. We still have a material body. We still have our past impression, man, buddhi, ahankar. As simple as that. If your father gives more property or brother and gives you less, are you affected or not? Just because your father giving some property here and there, devotees don't have a lawsuit with their family members. Devotees don't have lawsuit with their bosses. Yeah, there are many spiritual practitioners have. So human being also affects somebody else's house, which is called as graha also. We go and say, oh my God, they have this and I don't have. Right? Even the house of somebody else's house affects. What to speak of the planetary position, the planets? The entire Mahabharat war, Vyasadev is speaking to Dhritarashtra, why this planet is sitting here, why that planet is sitting here, and what are the consequences on this battlefield. He's not only talking from the planetary position, he's also talking from the misbehavior of Duryodhana. That is the point we are discussing. There is an integration between the planetary influence, our submission or our not submission to them, and our connection to spirituality. They are integrated. Please see the integration there. Yes, planetary system do affect for everybody, including a conditioned soul. If you think you are a devotee, that means that's a big deal to say I'm a devotee. You can say I'm aspiring to be a devotee. That means you are a conditioned soul, and conditioned soul is affected by that. But the difference is the person who is not practicing spirituality is only focusing on the temporary solution. But one who is practicing spirituality is taking the solution which is temporary to deal with man, buddhi, ahankar, but is also focusing on permanent solution of getting out of this tabernacle of birth, old age, disease, and death.
Yes, bro. Thank you. Thank you.
We'll take one last question.
Yeah, thank you. Can I request Pavitra Radhika Mataji to please unmute yourself and ask your question?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandvat Pranam. So my question is, it is usually said that when two people want to marry, but their astrological charts do not match, still if they get married and read Srimad Bhagavatam on a daily basis, it will not have too many repercussions. So wanted to understand your view as to it is true to what extent.
Now again, therefore, if you see, it's a very naive statement to say that two people who do not have great compatibility in the chart, and therefore if they read the Bhagavatam, then they'll become compatible. That means your compatibility for spirituality has to be so strong that other incompatibility does not bother you. But the other incompatibility bother you, whatever Bhagavatam you are reading before getting married, you'll stop reading because this incompatibility is impacting every aspect of your life. So that is again important how evolved one is to integrate and overcome the incompatibility. Therefore, the great sages, Parashar Muni, what does he do? When he talks about compatibility, he does not talk about your spiritual advancement. Because your spiritual advancement is your personal spiritual advancement. For a marriage, he talks about the compatibility in regards to social compatibility, the intellectual compatibility, the mental compatibility, the spiritual compatibility. There are 5 compatible factors. And imagine 4 is not working and only 1 is working. You may maximum you can run, okay, some other continue to live a life. The simple principle, the Shastra, they'll say, why you want to push like that? Why not have a great stability on every aspect? Why to suffer in other situation and saying that, okay, this is how life is? Then what happens? You accept suffering as a reality, and you also teach others that suffering as part of your existence. And consciously or unconsciously, we make Krishna responsible for our suffering. Oh, this is what Krishna wanted me to give. No, Krishna does not want to give you suffering. Krishna wants you to experience stability in every count as much as possible. And because the world is land of duality, some suffering will also come. That is also part of the creation's nature. So to say that the creation is created to make us suffer, defies the definition of avatara tattva. So therefore, compatibility is the most important principle. And as many compatible factors are there, that long you become a long running horse, for many years to come. Therefore, to make such a statement, naive statement, or just read the Bhagavatam, everything will be all right. Yes, everything will be all right if you continue to read Bhagavatam and you go back to Godhead. Otherwise, no, you stop in the middle, and generally, unfortunately, those who profess this, those who forcefully tell you to do that, they themselves, unfortunately, need more help in regards to getting professional counseling also.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Truly, in fact, when I have an argument with my wife, I'm not able to chant properly that day. So yeah, it definitely helps if you have compatibility with your life partner. It helps you progress on the spiritual path too. Thank you very much for joining us. And we'll meet again on Tuesday as we start our course, a 6-session course on samskaras. We look forward to hearing from you, Prabhuji, on samskaras. Thank you very much, and Hare Krishna.